Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on when you're watching this. Today, we're in Jacobsburg State Park, and I'm Cheryl.
I'm Chris.
And today, we're in the Homestead Trail. I think that's what they call it. I just call it the meadow. And we're just gonna walk around, saunter around, really.
Saunter around. That's my favorite thing to do. I didn't know you even knew what that word meant.
I knew you'd have a good time today, Chris. Let's go. And like I said, I think they call this the Homestead Trail, but I just call it the meadow, because that's what it is. It's just a meadow. And this is not the spring, we're in the summer when it looks its finest, but it's still just beautiful. And doing that just reminds me of a quote by, I think it's by John Muir. I don't like either the word hike or the thing. People ought to just saunter in the mountains, not hike. So today is just a time of relaxing, taking our time, not rushing, not hurrying, not hiking, but just taking our idle time, walking around, looking at the nature and everything that God put here on this earth. Listening to the birds, and you can hear a lot of rustle in the bushes, and you can see the squirrels and the chipmunks and the birds all around and hear them. You might even hear them now. And this is a huge, beautiful meadow. And in the spring and the summer, this meadow is full of flowers. It's full of different species of herbal plants, both medicinal and non-medicinal. It's just magnificent. So in the spring and the summer, I love spending a lot of time up here and at other meadows that are just like this, seeing the medicinal plants, identifying them, and sometimes even gathering them and making my own herbal remedies. If you've watched me long enough, you know that I'm an herbalist, and that I like to, when I can, use natural remedies to help prevent or treat any illness that me or Chris might have. And I went to school and started learning about herbs. In the mid-90s, I did it for various reasons. Mostly it was because I seen people around me dying a lot. And I was always curious about if there was anything else out there besides traditional medicine that could help. And a lot of my family members were dying of heart disease, and especially my mom. And we talked about our story in one of our previous videos called Whispers of a Ghost, our personal story, and it's in our channel if you go down and look for it. So I just decided to research and go into other things. So I found the School of Natural Health, or School of Natural Healing actually. So I started going there in mid-1995, 96, somewhere around that time. So the school was founded by the late and great Dr. John Christopher. He was born in 1909, I believe, and passed away in 1983. And he was a pioneer of his time. He was a great herbalist. He was born, I believe, to European parents, but was left in an orphanage in Salt Lake City, Utah, as a child. And he was adopted by the Christophers. He had a lot of diseases as a child. One of them, I think, was rheumatoid arthritis. He had a lot of pain, and doctors of his time thought he'd never make the age of 30. As a child, he showed a lot of interest in being able to help himself and help others and heal people naturally with natural remedies. In 1945, he was drafted in the military, and the military allowed him to experiment with actual herbs and different herbs. After the military, he moved to Canada, and I believe it was in Vancouver, and received a degree in naturopathy. He then moved back to the States, and he spent time practicing as an ND in Olympia, Washington, Salt Lake City, Utah, and Evanston, Wyoming. In 1953, Christopher formed the School of Natural Healing and began teaching in 1979. He began publication of a newsletter about using herbs for healing. In 1953, Christopher formed the School of Natural Healing and began teaching, and in 1979 he began a publication of a newsletter about using herbs for healing. Dr. Christopher created more than 50 herbal formulas. I won't name them all here because there's just too many to name, but there's a lot of them. And then Christopher's son David Christopher began studying and working with his father and became the director of the School of Natural Healing in 1979. So I went to that school and I got a certificate as an herbalist, and I have used it ever since, over 25 years now. Christopher, do you remember when you were smaller and going to school and me giving you a lot of herbal remedies?
Yeah, I smell like garlic.
You didn't get sick though, did you?
That's because none of the other kids would play with me.
Well, maybe that's why you didn't get sick.
Well, maybe.
So this spring, while we're on our walks and our hikes, we're going to identify herbs, medicinal herbs. And I'm going to tell you what they're traditionally used for. And now, we weren't taught Chinese herbal medicine. It was just the herbs that are in our own backyard. There's about 100 of them that I was taught and that I know, and that I'll be trying to teach you so you can know. And we'll see how far it gets. Maybe later on I'll show you how you can use those herbs and make tea, and how to make elixirs and syrups and things of that nature, and how to just dry them and encapsulate them. So that's coming in the spring. I mean, I don't know how in depth and how far I'll get into it. We'll definitely be identifying some plants and what they're used for. It depends on the interest on the channel, and if people want to see that or they don't want to see it. So that'll dictate whether we go farther with it or not. But we definitely will, while we're walking and hiking, start identifying some of these medicinal plants that are in your own backyard and that you guys can be utilizing if you choose to. And I'm not against traditional medicine at all. I think this should be used as a complementary to traditional medicine. You know, there's sometimes you go to a traditional doctor and they can't help you, or they can't seem to get you the results that you want. And that's mostly because they don't get to the root cause of the problem. And what I try to do is to get to the root cause of a problem so you can get rid of it. Dr. Christopher's, one of his main things that he used to say, and one of his main philosophies, is that he wanted to have an herbalist in every house and a master herbalist in every community. And I don't think that was a bad idea. I truly believe that there was a lot of things put here on earth for us to use. I mean, God created this whole planet I can't imagine that he forgot to put medicine here for us to use, natural things for us. I just believe that everything was put here for our use and to help us heal. I've been doing this for over 25 years, and I can tell you I've seen some miraculous things. Things that I will probably talk about in the future, and on our walks and our hikes, and they are absolutely amazing. Like I said, nothing wrong with traditional medicine. If you like traditional medicine, please continue using this, but it doesn't mean that you can't use this alongside of it as a complement to it. You know I'm out early because you can hear the roosters crowing. Did you hear that? Yes, we're always out early in the morning. So it's always a bit colder when we're out. But this is a beautiful meadow. And we're just taking our idle time today, enjoying everything that's here. Everything that God put here. So, when my mom died of heart disease and a heart attack, and she went back and forth to the emergency rooms and they would tell her it was nothing, it got me thinking, could there have been something more she could have done to help herself? Because traditional medicine wasn't helping her, wasn't even making her aware of the problem, even though deep down she knew what it was. All these plants are going back to seed now. But we will be back in the spring to see them. And here's a lot of birdhouses. Great place to watch birds up here in their natural habitat. Chris, the kids really did play with you, didn't they?
Yeah, but I smell like garlic though.
But you didn't get sick. Wasn't that the most important thing? All the other kids had flus and viruses and colds, and you never got sick.
I guess so.
I believe that God created this beautiful world of ours. And I believe that God was no dummy. He put everything here that we need. Everything that we need, including medicine. And it's here in these herbal plants. And even the animals, when they're sick, they know what plants to eat to make them feel better. They just instinctively know. And there are plenty of reasons to know why some plants are medicinal and how to use them. Plenty of reasons. Plus, we'll point out some plants that are poisonous and that you should stay away from and never consume. So walking and hiking is all a part of staying healthy. That's why we do it. Also, eating a good diet and using herbs when necessary. It's just all part of staying healthy the best way you can. And coming in this spring and summer, Chris and I are going to take you on a journey full of herbal medicinal plants. And we're going to learn to identify them and know what they're used for. And eventually, depending on how popular the subject is, we're going to teach you how to dry them and use them as tea, how to make syrups and elixirs, and all that fun stuff. And I have to say, Chris, there's a lot of strange sounds up in this meadow, isn't there?
Yeah, there sure is.
Things I've never heard before. Does make you think. Yup, it's nice just sauntering around, looking at creation, taking deep breaths in, breathing the fresh air. It's absolutely beautiful. And it does wonders for your soul. And this is just a really long meadow walk, but they do have paths off on the side that go into the woods and come back out to the meadow. My shadow. It's stuck like glue to me. We had a blast this morning. Just looking at creation, breathing the fresh air. It was just a really nice hour walk. Not even a walk. Sauntering. Idly walking. Yep. God doesn't make any mistakes. Well, that concludes our sauntering in the meadow today.
Well, I hope there's more of this coming.
There is, Chris. But why do I always have the sun in my eye?
I don't know.
Bye-bye, everybody.